Good afternoon, third grade. Today we're going to continue our lesson 2. We're going to describe angles in plane shapes. Before we get started for today, we're going to ask our essential question. How can you describe angles in plane shapes? Our vocabulary will be for today angle, vertex, and right angle. An angle is formed by two rays that share one endpoint. Notice my endpoint right here. This is the endpoint that they share. And also right here. A vertex is where two or more line segments share an endpoint. Notice my vertex right here. There's two line segments that meet, and notice my vertex right here. And we have three line segments that meet. Here are the line segments. This one, and this one. Three line segments. A right angle is an angle that forms a square corner. It's similar to the corner of a sheet of paper, and it's signified by this blue box right here, and also right up here. That tells you that these angles are 90 degrees. Now, before we can get moving, we need to understand types of angles. The first type of angle is a right angle, and we already talked about that. The second type of angle is an acute angle, and last, we have an obtuse angle. Now, a right angle is something that we already talked about. It's an angle that forms a square corner, and is similar to a sheet of paper. A right angle has a measure of 90 degrees and is signified by these boxes. An acute angle is less or smaller than a right angle. An obtuse angle is greater than or bigger than a right angle. Now let's unlock this problem. How can you describe the angles in the shape that Jason drew? Well, first of all, by looking at this, I can tell there are 4 angles. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4. By looking at this, I can tell that Jason's shape has 2 right angles, right here and also right here. By looking at this shape, we already found out that Jason has 2 right angles, right here and also right here. Now, I wonder if Jason's shape has any angles that are less than a right angle. So if I take a look here, this one looks kind of small because a right angle will look something like this. So this shape, or this angle right here, is smaller than a right angle. Now, we already mentioned that he had 2 right angles right here and right here. This one, all the way up top, was an acute angle. We said that was smaller. Now, I wonder about this angle right here. Is this angle going to be greater than or less than a right angle? And by the looks of it, that is greater than. So Jason also has one angle that is greater than a right angle. Now, let's work on a few problems together. Number 1, how many angles are in the triangle to the right? Now, if I look, I have 1, 2, 3. I have 3 angles in the triangle to the right. Now, let's go down to numbers 2, 3, and 4. We have to tell if it's a right angle, if it's less, or if it's greater. Now, number 2, I can tell that that is bigger than a right angle. So that is greater than. You were going to write on your paper greater than a right angle. Number 3, if we look at this one, we can see that this angle is going to be less than a right angle. So I'm going to write L and you're going to write less than a right angle. Number 4 is the easiest of the bunch. It's so easy because of that box right here. That is a right angle. Now we're going to practice some more. For 5, 6, and 7, I'm going to have you work on your own. You're going to pause the video and you're going to write your answers in. When you are finished, unpause and check your answers. Now that we are ready to go, our answers for number 5, we have 3 right angles, we have 0 less, and we have 2 that are greater. For number 6, we have 0 right angles, so we don't see any boxes. We have 2 that are less, and we have 2 that are greater. For number 7, this one's actually pretty easy. We have 4 right angles. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. To review our lesson, we learned about a right angle. We learned about angles which are less than, and they are called acute angles. We also learned about angles that are greater than a right angle, which are called obtuse angles. Now, for the last part of the lesson, you're going to pause the video and answer questions 1 through 6. When you are finished, unpause, and you can check your work with me. Now, since you unpaused and you're ready to go, let's go over our answers. For numbers 1, 2, and 3, we had to write if it's less, greater, or a right angle. Number 1 is going to be less. Number 2 will be greater. And number 3 is going to be a right angle. For 4, 5, and 6, we're going to write how many of each type of angle the shape has. Number 4, we have 4 right angles. 5, we have 1 right, 0 less, and 5 that are greater. And number 6, we have 0 right, 2 less, and 2 that are greater. Congratulations, you have made it to the end, finally. Make sure your name is on the paper, make sure everything is completed, and bring it back tomorrow.